Hey everyone, we will get started in just a minute with Liz Naturally. If you want to join me, I am in my bathroom today and we are going to talk about great toileting habits for the pelvic floor. So hope you come and join me in just a few moments. And I hope you are all here and ready to join me for this special Liz Naturally. Hey everybody, welcome to my bathroom. You may ask, why are you filming from the bathroom today? Well, because good toileting habits have a lot to do with the pelvic floor, and the pelvic floor has a lot to do with good toileting habits. Hang on, my dog's barking. I'll be right back. Oh. My husband is handling that. Anyway, so you may ask, Liz, what does toileting have to do with the pelvic floor? And pelvic floor have to do with toileting has a lot to do with it. When you think about the pelvic floor, right, it needs to relax. So pee will come out, so poop will come out. So when you think about problems with maybe incontinence or maybe you have a hard time peeing, or you think about you're having a hard time pooping, those all things could have to do with the pelvic floor. So today we're going to talk about some great toileting habits that may help you, especially if you have some pelvic floor issues. But let's start off with some breathing practices. I'm in a perfect position. Here sitting, I'm sitting on top of the toilet seat, not in the toilet. But anyway, let's put a hand on our heart, let's put our hand on our belly, and let's start with some pelvic floor breathing exercises. So I want you to take an inhale. I want you to feel the chest move, you feel the belly button move as the diaphragm drops, and I want you to feel your pelvic floor push into, if you're seated, into the chair. Maybe you're standing or lying down. Everybody can feel it in a different position, but for seated, sometimes you can feel that pelvic floor move against a surface if you're sitting. You could always put a rolled up washcloth between your legs where your underwear is, and that where the skinny part of your underwear is, so the long way, and that might give you some more feedback also. So let's take a deep breath. Feel the sit bones widen a little bit, feel the pelvic floor expand into the chair, and then exhale, feel everything lift. So keep doing this breathing exercise for a few more breaths. And the reason we're starting with this is to get some feedback and connect the mind up with the diaphragm, with the pelvic floor, as you breathe, to see what it's doing. When you take a deep breath, it's easier to feel the pelvic floor move, but it should be moving anytime you breathe, even when you're not thinking about it. Let's take one more deep inhale right into the pelvic floor. And I have my camera turned this way because this bathroom, it's an ensuite. The toilet's in a separate room than the rest of the bathroom. So it's kind of narrow. So that's why I have my camera turned this way today. So you can see me long ways. All right, good. So hopefully when you breathe, are you feeling the pelvic floor? We're connecting the mind connection and body connection, especially with that pelvic floor. All right, couple things we'll start off with. Now, I am in a high toilet. This is, the toilets come from different heights, but most houses are putting these higher seats in, one for taller people, but also it's more accessible for somebody if they are coming from a wheelchair or have low mobility. It's easier to sit down and get back up from the toilet. So the only problem is with somebody who's shorter, who has shorter legs, when you're on this high toilet, look at my knees. I don't know if you can see sideways. My knees are below my pelvis, which is a very unnatural position for going to the bathroom because our body is made to actually squat. So if you are in many other countries and they are squatting in the bath over a hole in the ground, in a malasana or squat position. So you think about it, this is a more natural way. Your knees are above your hips. It puts your rectum in a really great position for going to the bathroom. You may try squatting or just squatting on the floor, and you can see that it actually puts you in a good posture for opening up the rectum for pooping. And then it also is easy to urinate. So that's a natural way. I'll show this again. So if you're up on the toilet, or this would be like if the toilet was in the ground or very low to the ground, you'd be in a squatting position. In most countries, a lot of countries, that's the way that they go to the bathroom naturally. But we've invented these things called toilets, and we'll need to modify. So you'll say, Liz, how do I modify? Let me grab something. Oh, there it is. I'm coming back. So one thing you might have seen, if you haven't seen the video for this, this is called a squatty potty. And the squatty potty, and this, if you just have footstools, have at it. Footstools work too. You might need two small ones or a bigger one. The one thing about the squatty potty is it has this curved bottom, and so it'll go around the base of the toilet so you don't trip over it. So you can slip it back and then move it forward. What that squatty potty does is put your feet up so your knees are higher. So you're more in that squatting position, and that's why it's called a squatty potty. It gets your knees up and gets that rectum in a good posture for pooping and a good place for urinating for women who are sitting. The one thing is to watch is the squatty potty. A lot of times people go like this when they're going to the bathroom. Well, what does that do? Think about your sit bones. You can even put your hands on those two bony parts of your pelvis that you sit on. So when you're like this, your sit bones are moving together, right? And our pelvic floor is attached to those sit bones. When you put your legs more together, it separates those sit bones. It brings the musculature, pulls the sit bones apart a little bit, stretches the pelvic floor, and it opens things up. So be sure when you're going to the bathroom, your knees aren't like this, your knees are forward. All right, that's tip 2. So tip 1 was getting into some kind of squatting position. Either squat when you go to the bathroom, I guess if you want to stand on your toilet, have at it, or get something, footstools, or you can get this amazing thing called squatty potty and get your knees up. Don't be up on your toes. Say, Liz, why not? Well, up on your toes, actually, you want to be strong when you're urinating and you're going to the bathroom, and being up on your toes, actually, the muscles are a little bit weaker, and it ties into, your leg muscles tie into your pelvic floor, and it can cause strain because you're lifting the legs up. So we want our feet flat on something, on the floor, on a footstool, or the squatty potty. So if you're short like me, well, I can get my feet flat if my knees are down. But some people are even short like this and they have to be on the tippy toes. Don't do that. Be sure to be, if you can't reach the floor from the toilet, even kids have something they can put their feet on because they can't relax the pelvic floor if they're up on their toes. All right. Or even if your legs are hanging down off the toilet, it can cause strain in the pelvic floor. So tip 1, get your knees up, feet flat on the floor, knees up. And then the other one is keeping keeping the legs close, not going into a like a plie position. Bring the knees closer. All right. Those 2 things should help, especially relaxing the pelvic floor, opening things up. All right. Next, tip 3 is, what did we do when we were doing that breathing exercise? What did you feel on the pelvic floor? When you inhaled, and you can try this again, what did you feel? You felt things open up. You felt the pelvis open a little bit. You felt the pelvic floor relax, right? And then as you exhale, everything lifted, right? Everything lifts, the belly comes in because there's more space, the diaphragm lifted, the pelvic floor lifted. A lot of times when people are going to the bathroom, especially if they're having trouble relaxing and going to the bathroom, they're straining, they're pushing, sometimes they're holding their breath, they're squeezing that belly in, squeezing that diaphragm, squeezing, and your pelvic floor, okay, my diaphragm's up and squeezing, I guess I should squeeze too because they work together. So what does that mean? That means the pelvic floor is tightening. We don't want a tight, we want a strong pelvic floor. A strong pelvic floor is not loose and it's not tight. It's toned, just like any other muscle in the body. So when you're squeezing that pelvic floor and bearing down, the sphincters where your poop comes out, where your pee comes out, are constrained. And this may make it even harder to go to the bathroom. If you press down, force it, it's going to make things worse. So here's the tip is when you're going to the bathroom and maybe you want to relax the pelvic floor, how do you do that? Breathing in, feeling that expansion of the pelvic floor, feeling it drop down with the diaphragm, right? And then, relax and let it lift naturally. You need poop to come out or pee to come out, inhale. And exhale, good. So instead of pressing down, gripping, even your buttocks muscles, some people grip their buttocks muscles when they're trying to go to the bathroom. That is just causing more and more tightness in the pelvic floor and making it difficult to go to the bathroom. So that's tip number 3. So remember what was tip number 1? Tip number 1, get the knees up above the pelvis, get in that natural bathroom position, either squatting or, using a squatty potty, especially if you have a tall toilet like this. Tip number 2 was keeping the knees together. So we don't want the knees come apart. We want the knees closer together to open up that area. Tip number 3 is breathing. Breathe. Relax that pelvic floor on a deep inhale. And we don't want to press on the exhale. We want to relax the pelvic floor on the exhale. On the inhale, open things up. All righty. That was tip number 3. Tip number 4, if you tend to go to the bathroom, urinate, especially if you are a person with a uterus and you have a urethra and a bladder and you don't have a penis, sometimes, you go to the bathroom, you get up, you go wash your hands, you leave, and then 5 minutes later, you have to go again. You could say, why is this happening? I just went to the bathroom, why do I have to go? Primarily, it's because you haven't completely emptied the bladder. How do you empty the bladder? The easiest thing to do is to lean forward. So if you lean forward, what's that putting the rectum and the uterus kind of presses against the bladder and will help empty it out. So if you're leaning forward, your internal organs are kind of pressing on the bladder, because everybody's bladder is different. You know, we're all so unique. You know, you see standard anatomy models, everybody's looks a little different. It's genetics, it's, you know, how you've evolved, it may, you know, who knows. But your bladder sometimes could be in a different position, and it's maybe constricted in one spot, or something's holding it in one spot, and some urine is holding there. So by leaning forward onto that bladder, that will help get the rest of the pee out of the bladder. Now you could say, Liz, I don't like sitting on the toilet, I lean forward. That's okay. If you squat over the toilet, it's just a public toilet, and you squat, you're leaning forward as it is. You can always put your forearms on your thighs like this. So to lean forward. If that's not possible for you to not sit on the toilet, you know, and they don't have seat covers, you can always use toilet paper to put on the seat. But the other thing I read a research article about, they did actually research about the bacteria on toilets and how much is on a toilet seat. And actually the most bacteria that comes out of a toilet is coming out when you flush it. So that's the time you think about it's clean water until you flush, right? And somebody didn't flush. So be sure, you know, always close the toilet seat if there is a toilet seat. If it's a public bathroom with no toilet seats that you can put down, get your clothes on, get everything ready, flush, and then get out of the stall as quickly as possible, because that is the bacteria that's coming out. If they're the automatic flushes, you may not have a choice. It may just go off even while you're sitting there, right? Has that ever happened to you? You're going to the bathroom and all of a sudden one of those automatic things go off and you're like, what's going on? You know, so anyway, so let's go through everything again. Get your knees up to put yourself in a good, not up on the toes, right? Flat-footed. Knees up to get you in a good postural position for going to the bathroom. Knees should be closer together, not farther apart. Open up that pelvic area for excreting, right? Breathing, taking a deep breath, not straining, not pressing in, not straining the muscles. You want to relax that pelvic floor to let the pee and poop come out, right? All right, so next, tip 5, if you are struggling, well, I skipped over lean forward, remember? Lean forward if you are having trouble getting all the urine out of your bladder. That really helps. And, but not for pooping. We don't want to do this for pooping. Pooping, we want to be in that nice position, open position, right? All right, so visualization. So if you're having trouble, if you're constipated, you're having trouble for the urine to come out, you can visualize, you can look, you know, think about getting all that waste material out of your body. Just visualize everything moving in a natural way through the body, through the intestines and the bowel coming out, or the liquid coming out of the bladder, and just relax the body. Maybe is there some place that we don't want to teach the nervous system to urinate in places that, you know, we don't want to urinate, like when we go outside or we hear running water, things like that. That's a nervous system trick we've taught our body, that when that happens, we go to the bathroom, and that's not what we want to happen. But so we don't want to visualize like a place somewhere else, because then your brain is going to associate that place with going to the bathroom. So like if you imagined lying on the beach, you taught your brain that lying on the beach and going to the bathroom is connected. So every time you go to lie on the beach, for some reason, you have to go to the bathroom. So just visualize, I want you to visualize what's happening internally in the body. Just come to the place in the bathroom and be in that place. You can visualize the toilet, you can visualize everything coming out of the body. All righty, so that's tip 5, right? We had 5 tips today. All right, that's all I have for you today. I hope this was very helpful, especially those of you with a weak pelvic floor, because my mission in life is to serve people that are suffering from a weak pelvic floor, which is a pelvic floor that's too tight or a pelvic floor that's too loose, because both can cause issues. They can cause incontinence issues, both fecal and urinary incontinence, can cause pelvic pain. There's so many things that can go in the body. You could grind your teeth because your jaw is connected to your pelvic floor, actually. So there's a lot of connections with the pelvic floor, and so my service now is to serve you, for those of you that suffer from a weak pelvic floor. And I hope this was very helpful. Please leave any comments in the comments. I will get back to you if you have any questions. I do one-on-one consultations as a certified pelvic floor yoga teacher. The other service you can find is there are pelvic floor physical therapists that can help you with if you're having issues with your pelvic floor. Talk to your healthcare provider, right? If you're having issues too, and they can refer you to a pelvic floor PT. And then I work hand in hand with pelvic floor PTs as a certified pelvic floor yoga teacher. All right, everyone, happy bathroom going. I hope you have a future of not having issues going to the bathroom. And again, relax, take your time, don't be in a rush. When you do, going to the bathroom isn't that many times a day, normally 6 to 8 times during the day, urinating, a couple of times at night, a good bowel movement once a day, nice and soft and loose, it's not hard to get out, is fairly normal. If that's not you, find some help. We want you to have good bathroom habits. Come into the bathroom, relax, and do what you need to do, and then carry on with your life. Going to the bathroom should not interfere with your daily life. All right. Cheers, everybody. Good seeing you. Take care, and we'll see you next week. 12 o'clock. I will try to be at 12. I was just asked to change the time. I volunteer at a skilled nursing care teaching a gentle movement class, and they asked me to move to 11 on Thursdays, but hopefully I can make it back home after that and have the class. Otherwise, we might move it to 12:30, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you can use this information. Take care, and it was good seeing everybody. Bye-bye.